Hello, everyone. Manar Adli here for our official podcast for Mint Press News. As part of its war on its neighbors, Israel continues to bomb Lebanon, and virtually the only resistance to this comes from Hezbollah. Hoping to destroy the group once and for all, last September, Israel carried out a successful assassination strike against Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah. Yet the organization was not broken. Now, the US has come up with a new plan to defeat Hezbollah: force it to disarm. Washington has announced a plan to push the only resistance to Israeli aggression in Lebanon to give up their weapons, with the US ambassador reportedly even succeeding in getting the Lebanese government to sign off on the idea, which would mean the Lebanese army foreseeing the action. But what would it be in for Hezbollah? And if Hezbollah were to disarm, would that open the door for another invasion by Israel of the country to capture more Lebanese land? Joining me to discuss the US and Israel's plans for Lebanon is Ghadi Francis. Ghadi is an author, a journalist, and a war correspondent from South Lebanon. She is one of the most principled and incisive voices covering Lebanon in English, although you might find it hard to keep up with her work as Meta recently suspended her Instagram account. This is her second appearance on the show. Ghadi, welcome back.
It's good to be back, Manar, and thank you and all the colleagues in Mint Press for their solidarity with my ban. It feels good to be banned, you know. It's a validation that we're really getting through, our voice is getting through. And in general, the amount of solidarity, and I reached around 1 million people in 10 days. So this tells you that the voice is there and they cannot even silence us anymore.
Absolutely. And I think I don't really think that this is a coincidence, considering the timing that you were banned from Instagram, you were taken down. You are one of the most important and viral voices coming out of Lebanon to cover and report on Israel's war on the south of Lebanon. And so there's no question that this was a direct target and attack against you, Ghadi. But you do have our support, and we will stand with you on social media and bring you on and allow your voice to not be silenced. And so, as I said in the intro, the United States is pushing a plan to disarm Hezbollah. And in this endeavor, it has the support of the Lebanese government itself in Beirut. What is the US hoping to achieve here?
Well, Manar, when we put it like that in this sentence and we highlight it, it may look like it's something new. But if we put it in the context, here in Lebanon, the idea of disarmament of Hezbollah has been going around by the US and its pawns in Lebanese politics for over a decade. It's actually been there since the start of Hezbollah in the 80s, because anybody who is armed against Israel is always cornered by US policies in the Middle East in general and in Lebanon. And the United States has always been influential in internal Lebanese politics ever since the start and the beginning of Lebanon. The colonial powers, the Western colonial powers, had around half of the Lebanese politics. Now, the new order in Lebanon is to have voices against that, because Lebanon was shaped after the Sykes-Picot in a way to be always with the West. So the idea of disarmament of Hezbollah is it's not the first time that we hear it. Of course, the pressure is more intense, and after the most recent war last year, it has echoes inside Lebanese politics. Many of Hezbollah opponents feel empowered because of the assassination of Sayyid Nasrallah and many of the leaders and the full-blown war. But in other terms, you can see it in a different way, that the United States wants what it always wanted, and they think they're reaching better grounds to press in that matter. And yes, they have a government that is all in their favor, in favor of Saudi Arabia and the Americans. The prime minister is obviously totally aligned, or I can unapologetically say he's a pawn, because right now, today, and every day, people in Lebanon, Lebanese citizens, civilians, families, children, people are being killed, and drones are flying above our heads. and the invasion is ongoing one way or the other because Israel is expanding its uh, places on the Lebanese soil in South Lebanon, and you can't see one statement from the prime minister. Or if they have a statement, it's like a shy statement, whereas um, his whole force right now and his whole policy is how to further escalate the tension with Hezbollah, whether it's Hezbollah as a group or as politicians, or even now it's gone down to activists. Trying to imprison someone, trying to make some of the non-governmental organizations that are just cultural organizations, trying to make them illegal and so on. So we are living in the times where the government is totally pro Saudi Arabia, pro the United States of America. But on the ground, Hezbollah wasn't armed by these. It wasn't given power by these. It wasn't founded by these. And on the contrary, it has always been on the other side and has always fought such pressure. So this will tell you, yes, there is tension. The tension is escalating in the internal front, in the local politics in Lebanon. Yes, this is unquestionable. But it doesn't really change the facts that they have tens of thousands of militants. Sayyid Nasrallah used to say, we have 100,000 fighters. So after this war, it's a known fact that around 10,000 were injured and killed, 10 to 15,000. So there's another 70,000, to say the least, that's still there. This is aside from the recruitment, the new recruitment, and so on. So where have they gone? Have they evaporated? No. Or to speak about the arms, the disarmament can happen only after certain concessions are made from the Israeli part. This has always been what Hezbollah says, even in 2005, 2006, 2007, even when Nasrallah was alive. They used to say, we are not going to hand our weapons unless there will be they call it in Arabic, the strategia a strategy of defense for the country, which the people of South Lebanon know for good and for real that they will be protected, that the soil of Lebanon will be protected, because the resistance in Lebanon came as a reaction, Manar. Because before there was a resistance, there was an occupation in South Lebanon, and there were Israelis and Israeli forces ruling and oppressing people of Lebanon. So now, when we want to speak about disarmament of Hezbollah locally, there's something that has to come before. We have to free our whole land. There are many checkpoints or many places in the borderline, the southern borderline, where Israel is still there and still expanding. And we have to give concessions and give insurance to the people that they will not be striked. This hasn't stopped. This is why it's just like throwing around a hot potato, but on the ground, there's nothing that's making sense.
And you just presented to us that this is obviously not a new pressure to disarm Hezbollah by the United States and Israel. And, Israel has been targeting and attacking Lebanon for a very, very long time. And it sounds like the government of Lebanon, there's a chokehold on it by the US, by the Saudi government, and by the Israelis. So how realistic is it that Hezbollah would actually disarm? And if they are refusing, which they are, would the Lebanese government or military actually take action? And I don't want to give you too many things to answer at once, but if that were to happen, would we witness a civil war inside of Lebanon?
Well, even this kind of scenario has been played in the Lebanese past, because we have been on that front ever since the Palestine was taken, ever since the occupation started and something called Israel was planted on our borders. Since day one, in 1948, the first massacre happened in Hula, a southern town. Today, a massacre happened. In the most recent war, a massacre happened in Hula again. So this has played out, all the scenarios have played out. I will take you back to the year 1982. When the Israelis invaded Lebanon, they reached to Beirut. And after they were able to make many victories, there was in power a president that's pro-Israel, an army, half of the army was pro-Israel, and a PM that was pro-Israel. And there were people who were wanting to normalize, and there were actually we it's designated as May 17th convention in Lebanon. It was an actual normalization deal, a total giving up deal with the Israelis. That happened in the Lebanese history, but that was turned over again by the Lebanese people. So we have reached in our past places that were even worse than what we are talking about today. But in the present, this is not the status quo. And this cannot be the status quo. I will take you down into the Lebanese politics a little bit for you and your viewers. First of all, the Lebanese army, although it has been befriended by the United States. In a way, the Lebanese army structure is from every sect and everybody. So if you're talking about this, you will witness the divisions of the Lebanese army to start with, because many people, many generals, many um, army leaders in the Lebanese army are anti-Israel, because this is what Lebanon is about. This is what the normal Lebanon is about. It's illegal in Lebanon to even speak to an Israeli. This is how we were brought up, and this is how these army leaders have been brought up. Second of all, the actual man in charge today, the general leader of the army, Rodolphe Heikel, has been obviously and vocally opposing any clash with other Lebanese parties. And they say, and he's already said, you will not drive the Lebanese army into confrontations with Lebanese people. So this is what we've been witnessing on the ground. Thirdly, and I want to take you down to the ground reporting that I've been doing in the south of Lebanon. I've been giving the permits by the Lebanese army, and every town I go in the borderline, there is presence of the Lebanese army, although it's not strong enough. Their presence is empowered on Lebanese soil because of the sacrifices of the Lebanese resistance. So on the ground, regardless of the politics, there is an intertwined organic relationship between Hezb, Lebanese army, and Lebanese citizens of the South. And this has been started for more than 2 decades. This has been implemented by many leaderships. But in case that happens, in case they will go into the disarmament of Hezbollah, now let's speak about politics. If you have a group that is, they have the most votes in every parliamentary elections. We're talking about Hezb. They have the biggest bloc in the parliament. And they have hundreds of thousands of Lebanese that vote for them, that want them. And they have weapons. If they were to give concessions and negotiations, they would rule Lebanon. If they choose today in politics to hand their weapons, what would they take in return? Just to think about it. If they really make the concession, if they really do give up their weapons, they will be given everything they want in the Lebanese politics. But this is not their ideology. I mean, fortunately for the people of the South, this is not their ideology up until now. And the leaders of Hezb, whether it's Sheikh Naim Qasim or Haj Muhammad Raad, which is the head of the parliamentary bloc, or anybody that is speaking on behalf or representing Hezb right now, they're all saying, you can take our souls before you touch our weapons. But in the future, if there's something else, if there's a different plan for governing the South, I don't think there are any ultimatums yet. You know, there's nothing final yet. But maybe the politics can be creative and there would be some kind of shuffling of powers if and only if, and this is what they're saying, the reconstruction of the South is done, because you have over 100,000 homes that have been destroyed. So if you reconstruct as a government, you reconstruct the South, you empower the army enough to protect the people of the South, you give concessions, and the United States can give us valid insurance that the Israelis will not invade or hit again, then and only then we would give our weapons. This is what they're saying. But meanwhile, you have Tom Barak, the U.S. Envoy in the region, and he says, we cannot promise you anything from the Israeli part. Israel, he says it, In interviews, Israel can strike wherever they want. Site-Spico is done. Israel can do whatever they want, and wherever they feel the danger, they can strike. Israel striked Qatar. Israel striked Iran. Israel strikes Yemen, strikes Syria. Wherever they want, they strike. So in the meanwhile, there's nothing to really tell the people of the South or Hezb or the Lebanese people in general. There's nothing that would ensure that the next day of no weapons will be the day of an invasion and a genocide, because we are speaking about a regime that starves children to death, that kills journalists and doctors, that actually we don't know, we have no idea about the doctors that have been abducted from Gaza. One of them died after being raped, Khalid al-Barsh. So we are not talking about a regime that respects any kind of human or international law. What concessions can who give us as Lebanese before they tell us to disarm ourselves? And who would protect the people of Lebanon and the people of South from a full-on invasion and bombing if it weren't for these kind of unequal but still respectable deterrence?
Absolutely. I mean, Hezbollah has so much support on the ground inside of Lebanon, and like you said, they hold the largest seat inside of parliament. And history has shown us that whenever Israel agrees, Israel makes the agreement or another party makes an agreement for some sort of ceasefire or disarmament, Israel goes on to attack and commit grave massacres. I mean, we have the example of 1982, you mentioned, and after an Israeli invasion, the Palestinian Liberation Organization agreed to lay down its arms as part of a treaty. And once they did that, the Israeli military carried out the Sabra and Shatila massacres, killing thousands of people. We also saw what happened in Libya after Colonel Gaddafi agreed to destroy his weapons of mass destruction. And the United States ended up, through NATO, bombing Libya and turning it into a failed state and dragging his body through the streets after, cutting him open with a machete. Like, it was just disturbing violence. So I think a lot of people would agree that the United States and Israel both don't really have a history of respecting human rights for them to be trusted. And right now, inside of Lebanon, I want to hear more about what the current state of Israel's presence inside of Lebanon, because I think a lot of people are under the impression that there's some sort of ceasefire. But we both know that that's really not the case. Can you tell us, what are people in South Lebanon experiencing right now?
There's a one-sided ceasefire, Manar.
Yeah.
The Lebanese part is not attacking, although they can. They're not hitting, not with rockets, not with shells, not with missiles. They're doing nothing. Hezbollah is really respecting a kind of ceasefire from that part, because every drone that flies above Beirut can be hunted down. And every militant Israeli soldier that is present on the Lebanese borders can be hunted down. They have that ability, but they're not doing anything. But on the other hand, the Israelis every day kill someone, every day. Today, I don't know when this interview would be aired, but today, one of the pager attack injured people. He's blind because of the pager attack. Him and his wife. His wife drives because he can't drive after he was blinded by the Israeli attack. They were going to get their children from school and they were bombed together in the middle of the day, in the middle of the road with a buzzing street. Yesterday or the day before, inside another town, there was an attack on a man. They say he's a Hezbollah militant, but meanwhile, 10 other people were injured because he was attacked in the middle of the day in the middle of the road. And even if he's a militant, according to the international law, you cannot hit him unless it's in a war. So you cannot go on killing people and saying they are Hezbollah. This is a breach of the international law. Since the day of the ceasefire till date, more than 5,000 times there have been a breach. Today, we refuse to call it a breach of the ceasefire. It's an actual attack. They are attacking people. Last week, or around 10 days ago, they killed they targeted the whole family. The father died. Two toddler twins died, and a 7-year-old girl died. The only survivor is the mother and one of the kids that is in a severe condition right now. And they said they were, oh, sorry, by mistake, we were killing someone passing by. They are empowered to do anything around Lebanon because unfortunately not the world is not stopping them. The Lebanese government is not speaking about it because the Lebanese government has been placed there to do that, to make further pressure on Hezb and on the resistance. But the breaches are there, the killings are there, and if we want to talk about their presence on the ground at the borders, during the war, 66 days of war, 57 days of actual combat. They weren't able to stay on 1 acre of land in Lebanon, not on 1 acre, on 1 meter of land in Lebanon. From the west to the east, the whole borderline between South Lebanon and occupied Palestine was not taken. The Israelis continued to try to invade and they continued to fail. They were, exactly as Sayyid Nasrallah said, they were marching vertically and going back horizontally for 57 days. Although there was a lot of losses on Hezbollah's side, but they fought and they deterred the ground invasion. After that so-called ceasefire, because there is a respect to the so-called ceasefire and Hezbollah didn't fight anymore, they were able to take 5 points on 5 mountains, which are today 12. They are expanding. They are choosing the mountains in Lebanon, the border mountains that are strategic. And they are building their army sites over there. And they are building walls over there. And in the southernmost border villages, every time they want to do anything, sometimes you are sitting in a cafe in Ait al-Shab and you get some artilleries or some threats. Sometimes you might be just passing by in Aitarun and a drone will come just next to you and talks to you and tells you, bring down the window. They have some speakers with them. They are attacking the human life in the border villages and they are trying to tell everyone, you're not safe here, go away. But the Lebanese resilience and resistance, which they would never understand, is that people are staying there. People are staying in their border towns. They are reconstructing with whatever their bare hands can do, with their own personal savings or help from some non-governmental organizations or some people or some diaspora who are empowering them or some families. And they are staying and they're reconstructing with whatever they can and they are claiming their ground. But the Israelis are expanding on the hills. They are expanding their kinds of attacks. And there is not one day in Lebanon, since that ceasefire, not one day without an attack, not one day without drones penetrating our airspace, not one day without our seas being penetrated as well. They abducted fishermen and kidnapped them after the war. They took people who were returning. We have a 17-year-old boy who was going back to his town the next day of the ceasefire. They shot him and they took him while he was injured. And now he's there. He's a hostage. There's a man who grows sheep, just a normal person, a normal villager from Shaba. He's also been kidnapped. They have kidnapped civilians after that ceasefire and they have killed civilians and they have killed some Hezbollah militants as well. But also that is a breach of international law. So what kind of ceasefire? It's only a one-sided ceasefire. And I think many of the Lebanese people inside their brains, they're like, we don't want a full-blown war. But this is not an actual ceasefire. This is just another form of war.
What an absolute joke when the United States sits there and Israel sits there to talk about human rights when this is the reality on the ground in Lebanon, in Palestine, and all of the places that Israel is funding and arming Israel to take out people, kidnap people, children, fishermen, shepherds. It's so disgusting. I mean, just listening to you, Ghadi, I'm just enraged by how bad things are on the ground. And yet we have a corporate media here in the United States that, despite the genocide that's taking place and this acknowledgement that Israel is engaging in apartheid, in occupation, in ethnic cleansing, in genocide, and the kidnappings and the assassinations, etc., etc., etc. The list goes on. It's like a list that is too long to even mention in a short conversation. They go on to defend Israel's right to defend itself. They protect that for Israel. And what an arrogant corporate media that we do have, who is engaging and enabling Israel to commit these horrific crimes. And so when the New York Times or CNN come back to apologize for their reporting for defending any of Israel's atrocities, or maybe publishing something that was inaccurate, we don't want their apologies. They are acting in line with protecting Israel. That's what they're doing.
They're absolutely complicit. They're absolutely complicit. This war was raged in terms of media, in terms of protecting Israel, and I think they are all accomplices. They're not only aligned with Israel, they are criminals just as much as Israel is, because they are covering up a genocide that is already aired. They are covering up the kidnapping of doctors in Gaza, the burning of tents of displaced people, the bombing of universities and hospitals, and the starvation. They even find justifications. I mean, what's wrong with their brains? The flotillas had only humanitarian aid. How come you're not enraged by the idea that this aid was thrown away instead of being given to starving children? They are not even aligned, Manar. They are complicit. They are covering up and they are blinding their populations. And unfortunately, I mean, the population is waking up in the West, but still many people around the world do buy that BS.
I mean, that's the truth, is that people are waking up, and it really is happening to an awakening is happening to the Christian Zionist movement. And I think that's been the one anchor for the state of Israel in the United States. And if Israel loses that base, I mean, Israel is going to start acting in ways that are just outrageous, even more, I think, in Western lands, to kind of hold on to their power. But I want to talk a little bit more about the pager attacks, because these were such a horrific act of terror against the people of Lebanon. And even Leon Panetta, former CIA director, called this a terror attack that was completely unacceptable. And Israel happily took credit for this, for this terror attack, for the pager attack that wounded so many people in the south of Lebanon. Many of them were children. And so how are people, I know you've interviewed and you've sat down with these families, how are people reeling and living now post this attack?
Well, they are more resilient than you can imagine. And now when you're asking, I can only remember a pager attack victim. The last time I saw him in the launching of a movie, he came close to me. He's obviously blind. And he said, I just want to tell you something, because you're always on TV and you're speaking. I want to tell you I'm way more powerful now. And we thought in the beginning, that we will be put aside, or we will not have a role. It ended up being an actual blessing, and we are even more important now. This is what he said.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this to be poetic here. I know it's not very wanted to lose your fingers or your eyesight, but the pager attack that was paraded, unfortunately, by the Americans and the Israelis. We will not forget the golden pager that was gifted to Donald Trump and the way he paraded it. Anybody who parades using a civilian communication device to press one button and just attack randomly a group of people is not even to be compared by the Nazis. They're worse than the Nazis. They are not even criminals. They are savages. They aren't even human. Because regardless of where your battlefield is, Who can be around that pager? A child. In the middle of the day, they did this attack, and countless children were affected and were injured. And many of them you can see because they've been documented. Many of them continued their lives, and many of them lost their sight. Many children, many women lost their sight or their fingers in that pager attack. And this is not to say that attacking men is easier or it is justified, but if they want to say that they're attacking Hezbollah members, well, they're not, because anybody who carries a pager is not actually on ground in the battlefield. They're probably logistics or scouts or communication people. Some people work in the media. So basically, we don't even need to go into ways to justify or to explain how this is an attack on a whole humanity. Ever since that pager attack, Manar, everybody knows that their phones can turn into bombs if Israel chooses to. And then Benjamin Netanyahu goes in the podiums of the United Nations and the United States of America and says, you are holding a piece of Israel in your hand, designating the phones. What tells me that right now, when I'm speaking to you, if Israel wants to, my phone wouldn't explode and kill me? Or your phone that you put next to your bed every night would not turn into a bomb? Who stopped Israel when they did that? No one. Who can ensure us and who can be trusted to tell us that Israel doesn't have the ability to do that today and tomorrow using the AI that is provided by the technological warfare in the American deep state? Who can tell us today for sure that this cannot be used in the future against anyone, anywhere? No one. So it's not an attack on Lebanese people or on Hezbollah. It is actual empowerment of a rogue ethnic state, ethnic apartheid state, to actually kill anyone, anytime, using anything. This is a new era in terms of savagery. And what I can't understand is that there are people who go out unapologetically parading that. You are holding a phone. You are holding a piece of communication or technology in your house around your children. Are you saying it is okay for anyone or your enemy to use it to attack anywhere? I mean, we are talking about the Americans that used to question Avril Haines when the Biden administration came in. I remember that. They used to question and interrogate people who are going to hold positions in the CIA and so on because of their massacres while fighting Qaeda. They used to say, well, you attacked bin Laden and there were children in the other room. They used to stop and ask if that was a crime of war. And they used to try internally Americans who were in positions that maybe killed people while killing Al Qaeda. But this is the same America that is now parading a criminal tried and judged by the ICJ. They're receiving a golden pager by a person who killed or tried to kill 6,000 people at once without knowing their names, their histories. This is unfathomable, Manar, because we're not only the ones attacked. This is attacking human technology. So it is attacking everybody in the world. And still they find a way to justify or to even parade it. If there was righteousness, if there was actual judicial logic ruling, everybody who parades the pager should be in prison. And everybody who did that should not be really thought of as like a great attack. It's just like gas chambers. It's just like when, you can have someone justify what Hitler did. You say that he was scientifically, I don't know, he was scientifically smart. This is what they're doing now. They're saying Netanyahu is smart by attacking people using their pagers. Well, no, he's not. He's just a criminal. It's a hit below the belt. You couldn't confront Hezbollah with 80,000 soldiers on the borderline. 66 days you tried to enter Lebanon and you couldn't. But using the pager to attack people and saying that you are like your supremacy is, it's not your supremacy, it's American taxpayers' money and American technology and the United Kingdom and the EU. It's not even your supremacy. It's other people's money empowering you because you are the colonial ethnostate power inside the Middle East that is here to further escalate all the tensions and the divisions among the nation, the natives and the nations here, just to go on and take our land and take our gas and take our history and take our culture. So Netanyahu is not smarter by doing that. He's just more savage and more empowered. And my problem today is not only with him. I have a problem with the world, Manat. I was thinking as I was preparing myself to your interview, I was thinking that you're going to talk to me about the flotilla. And I'm saying, like, how dark these days are for people of our region, because now it is an ongoing known fact that some people matter more than others.
Yeah.
So we all know that if you are holding a European passport, you will get out of the prison. We all know it. And we all know that if you are a Palestinian, you're dying inside. And just to be living in a time where this is a fact is so unfair. It makes me so angry. It's not okay to live with this fact and to pass it on to our children. We're not lesser people. We're not less important. We're not less deserving of life. You know?
I mean, this is colonialism. This is modern day colonialism that subjects all of the people in the region to this kind of oppression. And, Israel just keeps exposing itself to how savage they truly are. And yes, this is not just about Israel, but this is about an entire white supremacist capitalist system that is there to occupy, to steal land, ethnically cleanse, and take over, and steal and steal and kill and subjugate the native people of the land. And can you believe that Trump has complained, oh, Israel is planting spying devices all over the White House? It's like, well, yeah, that's how far Israel has infiltrated. And now the United States is like,
This is what you reap. This is what you reap after what you sow.
Exactly. Like this is the monster you've created. And now you're like, oh, look, even we're being spied on. But
it's definitely going to happen. The confrontation will definitely be there. They will not accept America. America as is, as a nation, the diversity, the culture, the American culture is made and built on diversity. So it cannot coexist with that. There will be a confrontation. We never know where, between the good and the evil. And I do not believe that the Americans are bad people. They are just ruled by bad people.
Of course, yeah. I mean, most Americans, if they truly knew what Israel was doing, I mean, I don't think even an iota, not even a single American would support the U.S.-Israel relationship. But again, it's up to those, I think, the Christian Zionist movement. Once that kind of goes through, I think Israel...
It's always been that, by the way, Manar.
Yeah.
The Christian Zionism is the one that planted Israel. There wasn't any Jewish Zionism. It was planted by Christian Zionism, by Lord Shaftesbury, and then by Belford, and it started over there. And there were travelers who came here, Christian Zionists, who came here to this land, who came to excavate and to understand and to build up the whole myth that would breed in what we're living in our modern days. Books, countless books say that, you know?
Yeah. So I want to wrap up by talking a little bit about two things. So I have two questions left for you. One is about Hezbollah again. A lot of people looking from the outside have made the statement and have said that Hezbollah has been weakened now because of the pager attacks, because of the assassination of Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah. What is the state of, I mean, I know you described a lot of things, but what is the current state of Hezbollah? Have they been weakened, or are they stronger than ever? And then after that, I'll ask you about the economy, and we could wrap up after that.
Well, if I want to be realistic, nobody really knows the actual state military-wise of Hezbollah. Nobody really knows. Because it looks like, let me put an analogy here. If there were two fighters fighting in like a kickboxing round, and one of them wasn't defeated, he was still had a pulse and was able to finish the match like equally, and then disappeared. And then while he's off, he's being trained, he's being I don't know, receiving medical attention. You still didn't see him again in the battlefield or in the ring again. So you don't know if he's come back stronger, angrier, better, or defeated. Hezbollah has been playing low, laying low discreetly for a year now. The reports say that financially they have been rescued. Even Tom Barak said there are $60 million per month, but Hezbollah, the reports say $3 billion were put aside for the reconstruction of the southern suburb of Beirut, and that some raises were reported for the militants, raises in their salaries. This is one side. Another side is that they are now going into the secret kind of work, which is an upper hand they have when you have this kind of espionage and AI working for the Israelis. So they're working in secrecy. Nobody knows anything about their kind of structure or work military-wise nowadays. So, and whenever they find any kind of target, they would kill them, the Israelis. So they're just searching for them all over the south of Lebanon, but they are there. They are moving around. And some analytics would say that thousands of people from Hezbollah are moving around daily in the south. So I think military-wise, they were able to just to like speculate. I'm speculating here. I think they were able to reconstruct whatever communication network they used to use. Now they have a different one. They have a different structure. And I think they're always training themselves and getting ready for another battle. But we don't know unless the actual battle starts and we see. What has been proven in the past war, in the most recent war in 2024, is that on the ground, they weren't defeated. In the ground invasion, 0 wins were given for Israel. Israel won by airstrikes, and it has always had the upper hand in airstrikes. Israel won by the intelligence, by attacking, and even in the airstrikes, I think Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah knew that they will attack Dahi, but he didn't know that the Americans will give them the bunker busters. So if it weren't for the American bunker busters and the American help, Israel wouldn't even win in the skies. So if the whole world will come with Israel to fight Hezbollah, yes, Hezbollah is weaker than the whole world. But if it's only Israel, it's a matter of question, and we have to live and to see.
Yeah. Lebanon is obviously a very fragile country right now. It's been dealt with a very dire economic state even before October 7th and even before this current conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. Could you describe the economic state of Lebanon right now and how that's playing into all of this conflict between the Lebanese government and the disarmament and Israel's war on Lebanon?
Well, it's using simple mathematics and analogies, just like I did the first. If someone is bankrupt, they're easier to manipulate. They're easier to blackmail. They're easier to I don't know, to employ. But the bankruptcy, the banking system, the falling down of the banking system and the economic system has nothing to do with Hezbollah or this problem. It has to do with the corruption. It has to do with the internal kind of politics and governance of this country, where warlords and sectarian entities partition and divide everything among themselves. So there's no actual accountability. Everybody would protect their man because he's from their sect. Everybody would empower a corrupt person because he's their guy. So we reached a place where the actual state failed economically because it was taking money from the banks to spend on the politicians and not even producing anything. But this has nothing to do directly with the Hezbollah, but it has everything to do with the society. When the society is impoverished, it's easier to manipulate, it's easier to make moles for espionage. It's easier to tell the whole people that you will feel better, you will be given relief and given money, and the World Bank would help you, and America would help you, and Saudi Arabia would reconstruct, and everybody would come and help you if you're all against Hezbollah. So it would really help you in actually stressing and making more tensions in the internal politics. This is how I can see that the economic state affects. Other than that, it has to do with the corruption of the state, of the governance, of the base of Lebanon has always been that, a sectarian regime. So this is why there was never actual accountability. And the icon of the failure, Riyad Salemi, who's been the governor of the central bank, was directly in charge of the dilemma, of the problem, of the catastrophe that hit the Lebanese economy, has been freed recently by Nawaf Salam and his governance, by that new, I don't know, reform era. So this is how big the lie is when it comes to having an actual state in Lebanon. We have always been occupied one way or the other. A sectarian regime is not a fair regime. It's a regime where no one is held accountable, and we're living in it.
Well, Ghadi Francis, thank you so much for joining us today. We're, of course, always praying for peace in Lebanon and, for the people, the resilient people of Lebanon to be able to rest. I'm sure that, they're on high alert always as Israeli drones are flying over their heads and with all of these attacks. But we thank you for your bravery and for your courage and for your voice. I'm sure that's why Meta took down your page of over 400,000 followers. We stand with you, we support you, and we encourage everybody to follow your new page up on Instagram today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manar.